The Galactic Council Hall was quiet but heavy with tension. Hundreds of alien delegates sat in curved rows, their strange faces watching one man walking alone down the center aisle. He wore no armor, carried no weapons, only a black coat with the Earth emblem on the back. His name was Elias Kane, Earth's last ambassador. Elias stopped at the center of the hall, beneath the glowing council ring. All eyes were on him. Every race in the galaxy had gathered here for one reason: to question Earth. For 10 years, Earth's powerful military had vanished during the Tyran War. Billions died, planets fell. But Earth, once feared and respected, had said nothing, done nothing. Now, Elias had finally come. A tall, blue-skinned alien named Consul Trava stood. Her voice echoed around the chamber. "Ambassador Kane," she said, her tone sharp. "Do you understand the weight of your silence? Entire systems were destroyed. We begged for help. Earth said nothing. And now you arrive, alone. Where is your fleet? Where is your honor?" Elias looked up. His face was calm, but his eyes held something else, something hard to read. "You called for answers," he said quietly. "You're about to get them. But I'll warn you now. Once you know the truth, you may wish you hadn't asked." A murmur passed through the crowd, whispers in a dozen languages. Another council member, this one insectoid with clicking mandibles, hissed, "Earth abandoned the galaxy. You were our strongest allies, our defenders. You turned your backs while we burned." Elias nodded slowly. "You're right. We disappeared. We said nothing. We left you to fight the Tyrans alone." "That's true. But it wasn't betrayal." "Then what was it?" demanded a voice. Elias took a deep breath. "It was survival." The room fell silent. "For years," Elias said, "Earth watched the Tyrans grow stronger. We saw them destroy outposts, enslave races. But we also noticed something strange. Tyran behavior changed. Their attacks became unnatural. They stopped taking resources, they only destroyed. It was like they weren't trying to conquer, just to erase." An elder reptilian diplomat leaned forward. "And this made you abandon us?" "No," Elias replied. "This made us dig deeper, and we found something. Something worse. The Tyrans weren't acting alone. They were being used, controlled, by something older, something hiding behind the curtain of war." He paused. The council members looked at one another, confused and uneasy. "We called it the Shadow Protocol at first," Elias continued. "Then we gave it a real name, Protocol Eclipse. We realized that if Earth joined the war like you wanted, we'd be walking into a trap. The Tyran War wasn't the war that mattered. The real enemy was waiting behind it. Watching." "Enemy?" Trava asked. "What enemy?" Elias looked, her in the eyes. "Something we only knew by one name. The Varnax." Gasps and alarmed sounds spread through the room. The name meant nothing to most. But a few of the older species, the ones with long histories, visibly recoiled. "They are not myths," Elias said. "They are not dead, and they were feeding off your war. You asked where Earth's military went. The answer is, we went dark. We vanished, because we were fighting a different war. Alone." "Impossible," someone shouted. "Lies." "You think I came here to lie?" Elias said calmly. "Do you think I enjoy watching my friends die while we're called cowards?" His voice cracked slightly on that last word. He cleared his throat. "We deployed our fleets into deep space, beyond map systems. We hunted the source. We lost ships, we lost people. But we found the Varnax, and we stopped them from coming into the light." "You're telling us," Trava said slowly, "that Earth fought a secret war and didn't tell anyone?" "Yes," Elias said, "because if we failed, the galaxy would fall before it ever knew what hit it." The silence that followed was thick. No one knew what to say. Elias took out a small device and tapped it. A hologram appeared above him. It showed a massive dark battlefield, ships torn apart, strange skeletal creatures moving in the void, human ships fighting them in silence. No tyrants, no allies, just Earth in the dark. This, Elias said, is where your missing military went. We didn't run. We went to war, for all of you. And we didn't come back because the fight isn't over. One of the younger delegates whispered, "How many did you lose?" Elias looked away. "Too many." Trava stepped back slowly. She was no longer angry, just shaken. "You asked for answers," Elias said, putting away the device. "Now, you have them. And that's only the beginning." He turned to leave. But just before he reached the exit, he paused. "You think the Tyrans were the worst enemy out there?" he said quietly. "You haven't seen anything yet." And then, he walked away, leaving the council in silence. The council hall stayed silent long after Elias Kane left. No one moved, no one spoke. The things he said, the name Varnax, echoed in their minds like a dark warning. Many of them had never heard that name. Some had, and wished they hadn't. The next day Elias returned. The council had voted. They wanted the full truth. They wanted to know why Earth had broken all contact with the galaxy. Why Earth stayed silent while billions died. Why the most powerful military force disappeared without a single message. Elias stood again in the center of the chamber. "You want the full story?" he asked. "Then you need to understand what we saw, what made us turn away from your war." No one interrupted. Even the loudest voices from yesterday were quiet now. Elias began. It started with whispers, not words, signals, patterns in space that didn't belong. Our deep scanners found them first, picking up data from far beyond the Tyran front. The signals were cold, old, like echoes from the birth of the galaxy. We called it static at first, noise, but the pattern kept repeating. The hologram device floated above him again. This time it showed a star map. Not of the known galaxy, but far beyond it. Areas marked uncharted, areas no one traveled to. Something was broadcasting from there, Elias said. Not a message, a presence. The hologram flickered. Again. It showed recordings, footage from secret Earth exploration ships, strange lights drifting through the void, shapes without mass, shadows that moved when nothing should move. Our scientists were scared, Elias continued. They said it was like the signals were alive, not made by machines, not natural either. Something was watching through the signals. A pale alien delegate leaned forward. "Why didn't you tell the council?" "We tried," Elias replied. "We sent 2 messages. They never arrived. Or maybe they were intercepted." Whispers returned to the chamber. "Then," Elias said, "the Tyrans attacked Echelon 5. A murmur moved through the crowd. That station had been destroyed early in the war. Everyone believed it was a standard Tyran assault. "That attack was different," Elias said. "No resources were taken. No prisoners. Not even wreckage. Everything was gone. Like it was never there. Our people scanned the area for days. They found something. One small data core left behind." Elias held up a tiny metal cube. "This was inside," he said. "It held a single image, not of the Tyrans, but of something else." He tapped the cube. A new image appeared in the air. It was blurry, black and red, but the shape was clear. A tall creature made of metal and bone. No eyes, no mouth. Only long arms and a spine that stretched like a blade. Some in the council gasped. "We don't know if this was a warning," Elias said, "or a message. But that's when we knew. The Tyrans weren't working alone. Something was using them." He stepped forward, lowering his voice. "Our commanders held an emergency council on Earth. They agreed on one thing. If we joined the galactic war, we would be exposing Earth to a hidden enemy, and we had only one chance to find the truth before it was too late." "What did you do?" someone asked quietly. "We shut down," Elias said. "Earth cut all contact, not just with the council, with everyone. No broadcasts, no signals, no presence. We went completely dark. He looked around at the shocked faces. That was the great silence, you remember. It wasn't cowardice. It was camouflage. The hologram now showed Earth's fleet, thousands of ships vanishing into deep space. We called it protocol eclipse. Every soldier volunteered. No conscripts, no forced missions. They knew the danger. They knew they wouldn't come back. He paused. Our best minds were sent to follow the signals. Our strongest fleets followed the darkness. They chased the shadows that moved behind the Tyrans. Someone in the crowd finally said what many were thinking. And what did they find? Elias looked down for a moment, then met their eyes again. We found a galaxy inside our own, he said. A second layer, hidden, cold, like it had been waiting. The Varnaks were there, sleeping, feeding, watching. He tapped the device again. This footage was taken by the ISS Revenant 5 years ago. The hologram played again. It showed a black star. No light came from it. Around it were ships, Earth ships, burning, fighting something invisible. Beams of energy passed through empty space, and then one of the ships exploded without warning. There was no enemy in sight. But then, a shadow appeared. Just for a second. Massive, long, twisting like a living storm. And then it vanished. That's the only image we ever got, Elias said. We lost 12,000 lives in that fight, but we stopped them from waking up fully. We bought the galaxy time. Another delegate stood, voice shaking. How long? Elias didn't answer right away. Then he said, Not long. That's why I'm here. Earth cannot hold them back alone anymore. We need to prepare, together. Why now? Another voice asked. Why return now? Elias looked directly at the High Council. Because the Varnaks have started to move again, and this time they're not hiding. The room went completely silent once more, and for the second time in 2 days, the council had no words. The next meeting of the council was different. No shouting, no angry speeches, only quiet fear. Elias Kane entered the hall again, his face calm, but his eyes darker now. The council no longer looked at him as just an ambassador. Now they saw him as a messenger from the edge of the galaxy, a man who had seen something the rest of them had only feared in dreams. Are you ready for more? Elias asked as he stood in the center again. Consul Trava gave a slow nod. Yes, we must understand what Earth faced. Elias raised his hand, and the hologram device came to life. This time, it showed something incredible, Earth's fleet. But these weren't the ships the council remembered. These ships looked different, sharper, stronger, covered in black alloy and strange patterns. Their engines were silent, their lights dim. These, Elias said, are what we now call the Ghost Fleet. The name alone caused murmurs across the chamber. They don't broadcast signals, Elias continued. They leave no heat trails. They use stealth systems even we didn't understand when they were first designed. We made them in secret. In the deep places of Earth, these ships were made for only one purpose, fighting something that couldn't be fought with normal weapons. Why call them the Ghost Fleet? Asked one council member, a four-eyed scholar from the Nareen. Elias smiled sadly. Because no one sees them coming, and most of the time, they don't come back. The room fell silent again. He pointed to the display. These ships operate outside the galaxy's borders. No support, no supply lines. They jump between dead systems. Their crews live in silence. They fight in the dark. A new image appeared. A human ship drifting through space. Its hull was cracked, but it still moved. Inside, the crew worked, without lights, using only hand signals to communicate. Their faces were tired but focused. They don't talk much, Elias said. They know speaking might wake the wrong thing. Sound, light, even emotion can attract attention out there. A member of the council leaned forward. Are you saying these creatures sense emotion? Elias nodded. We believe so. The Varnaks don't see like us. They feel thoughts, fear, rage, curiosity. That's how they found the Tyrans, and that's how they nearly found us. He changed the image again. This time it showed a ghost fleet operation, 5 Earth ships surrounding a dark sphere, something floating in space. It pulsed with red light. Suddenly, tendrils of black energy shot out from it, wrapping around one of the ships. There was no explosion, just silence. The ship vanished. Another gasped. Did they survive? Elias shook his head. No, they never had a chance. Trava's voice was low. And you kept sending more ships after that? We had no choice, Elias replied. We learned quickly that the Varnaks weren't invading yet. They were testing, probing, looking for weakness. Earth decided we had to hit them first. The next image was different. A large black planet, dead and cracked. Around it, dozens of ghost fleet ships waited in formation. This was Operation Cold Dawn, Elias said. We found one of their nests, a breeding world. We knew if we left it alone, they'd multiply. What happened? A voice asked. Elias hesitated, then pressed a button. The hologram changed to chaos, explosions, flashing weapons, strange shapes moving between the stars, Earthships firing everything they had. One by one, ships exploded, disappearing into fire. But the planet also began to break apart. They succeeded, Elias said quietly. But out of 89 ships, only 17 made it back. There was a long silence. That's when the name Ghost Fleet became real, Elias said. Not because they were silent, but because most of them never returned. Their signals were lost, their bodies never found. They became ghosts. The council looked at each other. This was no longer a political matter. It was survival. One of the elder council members, old and silver-skinned, leaned forward. And the people on these ships? Why did they agree to this? Why did they go, knowing they might never return? Elias looked up at the chamber, his voice firm. Because they knew the truth. Earth didn't send them to protect only Earth. We sent them to protect all of you, even while you thought we had run. The old council member nodded slowly, deeply moved. You speak of ghosts, Trava said. But what of the living? What of the soldiers who fight this war and still survive? Are they coming home? Elias shook his head. Not yet. The war isn't over, and they know it. He pulled out another small device. It showed a message recorded by a young human pilot. If you see this, she said, her voice steady, it means the mission failed or I'm dead. But if I'm not, know this. We're still out here, and we're not giving up. Because someone has to keep the darkness away. The recording ended. Elias turned off the hologram. That's who the Ghost Fleet is. They fight in the dark so you can live in the light. He stepped back. And now, he said, they've sent a signal back to Earth. A warning. What warning? Trava asked. Elias looked at the council and said just one sentence. They found something worse. The council hall was darker than before. Even the lights seemed dimmer, as if they too were afraid of what came next. Elias Kane stood at the center again, quiet. This time, he did not begin with a speech. He placed a small black cube on the table before him. It pulsed once with a red glow. Then it went still. This, Elias said, was the signal. The council leaned forward. Some already felt uneasy just by looking at the cube. It didn't hum. It didn't beep. But something about it felt wrong, like it didn't belong in this universe. Elias looked around. 2 weeks ago, one of our Ghost Fleet scout ships, the Nightwind, picked up a signal deep in the uncharted zone. We almost missed it. It was buried inside background radiation. But something strange happened. The signal didn't move through space like normal waves. He tapped the cube again. A hologram appeared, just sound, no image. A low, pulsing noise, like breathing. Or maybe something worse. This signal wasn't transmitted, Elias said. It grew, like it was alive, like it was spreading through space on its own. A blue-skinned council member asked, could it be a natural phenomenon? Elias shook his head. No, Our AI systems tried to process the sound, tried to decode it. What they found wasn't random. Another voice spoke up. Was it a message? Elias looked at the cube, then back at the council. Yes. A short one, just 6 words. Played on a loop. He tapped the control panel. The hologram now showed the decoded version of the signal. The words appeared in simple galactic common. We remember Earth. We are coming. Whispers swept across the chamber like a cold wind. Who sent it? Trava asked, her voice quieter now. We don't know, Elias replied, but it came from a dead system, a system destroyed during the early Tyrant War. There's nothing left there, no life, no ships, not even dust. We scanned it, and still, the signal came from that place. He paused, letting the weight of the words settle in. Our analysts think the message wasn't meant for Earth. Not at first, it was meant for the Varnax. That caused panic in the room. What does that mean? One council member demanded. Earth has enemies even worse than the Varnax? Elias answered, carefully. We don't believe this is new. We believe it's ancient, older than even the Varnax. Something the Varnax fear. Something they may have once served. Another hologram appeared. This time, it was a rough 3D rendering based on signal patterns and deep mapping. A shape, a kind of monument or tower, rising from what should have been a broken moon. The signal came from this structure, Elias said. Our ship got close, it didn't make contact, but the pilot reported visions. A tall insectoid ambassador clicked nervously. What kind of visions? Elias hesitated. She said she saw cities burning. Not just human cities. Alien ones. 2. Whole planets turned to glass, and something above it all. Watching, waiting. She said it didn't just see her, it recognized her. That's impossible, someone whispered. She also said this, Elias added, and we recorded it. He played a short audio log. It was the pilot's voice, cold, shaky. It saw me. I know it did. Not with eyes. With thought, like it reached into me and found my memories. It said my name, my real name, a name I haven't spoken since childhood. Then it laughed. But the sound wasn't laughter, it was the sound of hunger. The audio cut out. Elias's voice was low now. She destroyed her ship 3 minutes later. She said she couldn't let it find the others. No one in the council could speak. The fear was now deep, real, heavy. Trava finally managed to ask, do you think this thing is coming? Elias didn't answer right away. Then he said, the message was clear. It remembers Earth, and it is coming. Another hologram flickered to life. It showed a dark region of space slowly being swallowed by something. No explosions, no debris, just silence, as if reality itself was fading away. We believe this is its path, Elias said. Whatever it is, it's not just a fleet, it's not even a creature. It may be an idea, a force, something old enough to remember Earth before we were even born. A reptilian delegate hissed, why Earth? Why not the rest of us? Elias looked down. Because we found something 100 years ago, he said. A signal buried deep inside Earth's crust. We didn't understand it. We thought it was just a strange magnetic pattern, but now we believe it was a warning, or a beacon. Earth may be part of something much, much older. The council was stunned. We were never just another species, Elias continued. Someone, something, put Earth in this galaxy for a reason. And now, whatever sent that first message is waking up again. A cold silence followed. Finally, Trava asked, what do we do now? Elias looked around the room. We prepare, he said. Not just for war, for something worse. Something beyond war. He picked up the black cube and turned off the signal. Ghost. Fleet Command has already begun Project Obsidian. We're building something, Earth's last weapon, but it will take time. And if we don't act together, he paused. Then we'll all vanish before we even know what hit us. And with that, Elias left the chamber again, But the silence he left behind stayed much longer. The council hall no longer felt like a place of power. Since the message from the dead system, fear lived in every corner. Many delegates stopped arguing. Others stopped attending altogether. Some had quietly returned to their homeworlds, hoping they were far enough from danger. But Elias Kane returned once again unchanged, still calm, still clear. But his eyes had a new weight behind them. Something had shifted. This time he didn't wait for permission to speak. "You've heard the signal," he said. "You've seen the visions. Now you need to see Earth's answer." He placed a small metallic disc on the center platform. The lights dimmed. A new hologram rose into the air. A black sphere slowly turned in the projection. Not a planet. Not a ship. Something different. It had no windows, no engines. Its surface looked like smooth, solid obsidian. No color, no reflection. "This," Elias said, "is Project Obsidian." The council remained silent, staring. "What is it?" Trava finally asked. "It's a weapon," Elias replied. "But not a gun, not a bomb. Something older, something we didn't create." Murmurs spread across the chamber. "You didn't create it?" asked a nervous ambassador. "No," Elias said. "We found it. 50 years ago." He changed the hologram. Now it showed the ruins of a giant underground complex beneath Earth's surface. Ancient stone mixed with impossible metal. Symbols carved in circles. Broken machines taller than towers. It was buried deep under the ice in Antarctica. Hidden for thousands of years. When we found it, it was asleep. Elias paused, letting the meaning sink in. "We spent decades studying it. Our best minds, our strongest AI. Nothing worked. It was dead. Then, 3 years ago, it turned on." "What triggered it?" Trava asked. "The Varnax," Elias said. "Their presence, near Earth. Their movements. Whatever controls this thing, it noticed." The sphere in the hologram now showed energy pulsing from its surface. Strange lines forming across its black shell like veins of light. It didn't look like a human weapon. It didn't look like anything built for normal war. "We don't understand most of it," Elias continued. "But it reacts to thought, emotion, memory. It reads the mind of whoever touches it. And more than once, it has answered." A tall avian delegate leaned forward. "Answered how?" Elias pressed a button. A new hologram appeared, this time a video. A human test pilot stood before the sphere. She reached out with her hand. The surface rippled like liquid. A beam of soft blue light touched her forehead. She began to speak. "It's not a weapon," she said. "It's a key. A lock. A warning. It holds something in, or keeps something out. It remembers what came before us, what destroyed the first civilizations. It's waiting for us to decide." Then the video cut off. Silence. The insectoid. Ambassador clicked his mandibles. "You said it's Earth's answer, but you just said it's not yours." Elias nodded. "That's the truth. We don't fully control it. But it listens to us. It listens to our fear, our hope, and our rage. We've connected it to Earth's defense network. It chooses when to act, but only if we're ready." Another delegate stood. "Ready for what?" Elias looked around the room. "For the final awakening." He changed the hologram again. This time, it showed data gathered from the Ghost Fleet. Space charts. Gravitational shifts, stars dimming across a line in space. "The Varnax are moving," Elias said, "and something moves with them, something behind them, like a shadow with no shape." The council stared at the display. One by one they saw it too, an invisible line stretching from the unknown, cutting straight through the stars, heading toward Earth. Project Obsidian was left for a reason, Elias said, to stop something, or maybe to survive something. But it needs more than just us now. It needs all of us. Trava stood slowly. You came here asking for help, but now it sounds like you're asking for something else. Elias looked at her. I'm asking for trust, and I'm offering a choice. He pointed to the sphere. Earth will activate Obsidian in 30 days, when the Varnax line crosses into our system. But once it's active, there's no turning back. It will change things. It may change us. The council was silent again. A delegate finally asked, "What happens if we don't help?" Elias answered without emotion. Then Earth stands alone, and the galaxy will watch its last shield fall. More silence. Then Trava asked the question no one wanted to ask. And what happens if we do help? Elias looked up. His voice was calm, almost cold. Then we become something new, something stronger, but not everyone will survive that choice. He stepped back. Project Obsidian is more than a weapon. It's a doorway, and something is knocking. Without another word, Elias left the chamber. This time, not even a whisper followed him, because the council finally understood. The real war hadn't started yet, but something ancient had just woken up. 30 days passed, and the sky above Earth began to change. From far across the galaxy, stars flickered unnaturally, some vanishing, others shifting color like they were blinking in pain. A cold line of silence moved through space like a ghost tide. The Varnax were coming, but not alone. Deep under Earth's surface, the sphere called Obsidian waited. It pulsed slowly now, no longer asleep. Inside a hidden facility known only as Black Core, Elias Kane stood with General Ao, one of the few humans who had seen Obsidian up close and survived. Around them, screens glowed with warnings. The Ghost Fleet had sent one final message before going dark. It has crossed the edge. We cannot stop it. You must begin the protocol. Elias looked at the black sphere in the center of the chamber, floating, silent. It didn't look alive, but every person in the room felt it breathing, thinking. General Ao spoke quietly. Is this really the only way? Yes, Elias said. There's no more time. We activate it now or we lose everything. He stepped toward the terminal. No buttons, no wires. Just a place to stand and think. The Obsidian protocol could not be started with a switch. It needed one thing, a memory strong enough to awaken it. Elias closed his eyes. He thought of his brother, one of the first Ghost Fleet pilots. Lost 5 years ago in the Cold Dawn battle. He had never come back. He thought of the first message from the Varnax, the screams, the static, the way the sound made people cry without knowing why. He thought of Earth, quiet now, cities waiting, families watching the sky. Obsidian pulsed once. Then again. The air turned heavy. The temperature dropped. Lights flickered. And suddenly, it spoke. Not with a voice, but with thought. Protocol accepted. Identity, human, memory, pain, directive, defense. Phase 1, begin transition. Outside, satellites turned toward Earth. Giant metal panels hidden in orbit changed position. On Mars, a massive underground structure cracked open, revealing ancient tech not built by humans. On Luna Base, scientists screamed as machines turned themselves on. Machines they didn't understand but were ordered never to touch. And from beneath Antarctica, the Obsidian sphere rose from the ice. The world watched in silence. On the moon, Trava stood at a temporary council station, eyes wide. 100 delegates watched from holographic feeds. No one dared speak, not even now, because this was no longer about politics. It was about survival. Is it alive? Someone whispered. Worse, Trava said. It's awake. Elias's voice echoed from the council transmission. We have begun the Obsidian protocol. What happens next is not under our full control. But we do know this. It was made to protect. He paused. And to destroy. In orbit, the black sphere now hovered, like a second moon, not moving, not spinning, just waiting. Then it sent a signal. Not radio. Not light. Gravitic pulse. Across the galaxy, the Varnak stopped. Something had noticed them. Something old. Inside the council chamber, panic spread. "What is it doing?" Someone shouted. "It's calling to them," another said, "or warning them." But Elias said nothing. He simply watched as the first effect of Phase 1 began. Earth changed. The sky darkened. Artificial satellites overloaded. Then, the planet's core pulsed with the same rhythm as obsidian. A harmonic wave spread across the crust. Volcanoes went quiet. Oceans calmed. Time itself slowed, at least for Earth. It was not just a weapon. It was a shield, and something more. Phase 2. Defense barrier activated. Probability of outer breach. 87% recommendation. Initiate species merge. Elias read the message on the screen. Species merge? General AO blinked. What the hell does that mean? But he already knew. Project Obsidian wasn't just a defense system. It had a second function, one they had never tested. It could alter, adapt, change life itself, not only to survive, but to fight back. All across Earth, chosen individuals began to feel a strange vibration in their minds. Soldiers, scientists, pilots, even children. They saw visions of stars dying, of black ships swimming through space like whales in the dark. And in those visions they saw themselves, changed, faster, stronger, sharper. Their bodies not metal, not flesh. Something new. Something designed for war beyond the limits of the known universe. This was the Obsidian's final gift. A new kind. Of human, the first Obsidian-born and the Council? They were terrified. Trava finally stood and spoke to the room. "We judged Earth too soon, we thought they were hiding. But all this time, they were preparing, not just for war, but for evolution." In the black core, Elias opened his eyes. He was not alone anymore. Dozens of others stood around him. Changed. Eyes glowing faint silver. Their skin faintly pulsing with energy. They didn't need orders. They only needed direction. General AO stepped forward. "The Varnaks won't stop." Elias nodded. "Then neither will we." Outside, far beyond Earth, the stars screamed, because the Obsidian sphere had finally spoken a new message. The stars burned like open wounds. The Varnak's armada, millions strong, moved across space with quiet terror. But they were no longer alone in the dark. Behind them, shadows moved. Not ships, not creatures. Something deeper. Something older. The power, thing the signal had warned about. And before them was Earth. But not the Earth they remembered. The black obsidian sphere floated in high orbit, surrounded by strange glowing rings. It no longer hid its power. It no longer waited. It commanded. From the dark side of the moon, new ships launched, sleek, silent, alive. Built not by machines, but by the Obsidian protocol itself. Their hulls shimmered like oil on water, shifting, shape as they moved. These were the Obsidian fleet, part metal, part thought, all rage. Inside one of those ships, Elias Kane stood on a pulsing deck. No buttons, no screens. Everything responded to his mind. He was no longer just human. He was Obsidian-born. Around him, others like him waited. Warriors, scientists, pilots, even former enemies. The protocol had united them all under one idea: survival. Through evolution. Through unity. Through force. "Targets locked," said a soft voice. Not from a person, but from the ship itself. Elias gave the command. "Begin Phase 3. Take the fight to them." Across space, Earth's fleet burst forward. The Council watched from their stations. They had done nothing. Trava stood before the empty seats in the chamber. Most had fled. Some refused to believe what Earth had become. But she stayed. Because she knew something now. Earth had not become a monster. It had become a mirror. A reflection of the galaxy's silence. Its fear. Its cruelty. Earth had asked for help, and the stars had turned away. Now, Earth answered for itself. The first battle was not a battle, it was a message. The Obsidian fleet didn't use normal weapons. Their ships sang, soundless tones that tore holes in space, that unraveled enemy armor, that turned energy beams into static. The Varnax screamed, they fired, they vanished. And behind them, the dark force, the true enemy, paused. For the first time in 1,000 years, it hesitated, because it recognized the sphere, because it remembered what Obsidian used to be, a prison, a lock, a warning. Elias heard the voice again, inside his mind. You are not the first, you are the last. What you awaken will burn the sky, he whispered to himself. Let it burn. On the edge of known space, a new sun was born. Not from fire, but from fusion. Earth's core power, drawn through worm gates, powered a weapon the size of a moon, the final protocol. Obsidian's last defense, not to destroy the enemy, but to erase it from time. Elias stood at the heart of the weapon alone. He knew what it meant. If he used it, he would not return. But Earth would live. The others sent him messages. Don't do it. Let us try more. We can find another. But Elias said nothing. He only looked at the stars and smiled, because he had seen what Earth had become. Not a world of war, a world of will. The Varnax charged again, desperate, furious. Behind them, the dark force opened, like a hole in space wider than a galaxy. Tendrils of black light reached forward. The weapon charged, the stars blinked, and Elias spoke his final words. This is for the forgotten. This is for the ones who warned us. This is for Earth. He activated the final protocol, and space screamed. Light poured out across systems. Not heat, not death, but silence. Everything the dark force had touched began to unravel, fading into white mist. The Varnax were gone, the shadow behind them, cut away like a cancer. The stars returned, the silence ended. Earth stood alone, victorious but changed. The obsidian sphere dimmed. It had done its work. Its message faded, cycle complete. Earth endures. Back on the moon, Trava watched the final feed disappear. She turned to the few remaining council members. They asked us for help, she said softly. And we gave them doubt. No one answered, so she added, now we ask them for mercy. Months passed, then years. Earth never attacked. It rebuilt. But it also changed. The Obsidian-born returned. Guardians now, not soldiers, teachers, healers, watchers of the stars. The council was reformed, this time with Earth at its center. Not feared, respected. Trava stood on the rebuilt station orbiting Earth, looking down. At the blue planet below, they didn't silence us with power, she whispered. They silenced us with purpose. And far beyond, at the edge of space, something watched. Not evil, not good, just old, waiting to see if Earth would become a destroyer or a shepherd. But one thing was now clear. Earth was no longer just a world. It was a warning, a promise, and a name that no one would ever forget ever again, because Earth had ascended.